What do you know about the oral traditions in Africa? Oral traditions in Africa are an integral part of the continent's rich cultural heritage. These traditions encompass a wide range of practices, including storytelling, proverbs, music, dance, poetry, and rituals, all of which have been passed down from generation to generation through spoken word and performance. Here are some key aspects of oral traditions in Africa. Storytelling is a fundamental component of African oral traditions. Jalis, griots, storytellers and bards have played a crucial role in preserving the histories, myths, legends, and moral lessons of African communities. They use a combination of words, gestures, and often musical accompaniment to captivate their audiences. Proverbs are concise, wisdom-laden sayings that convey cultural values, morals, and advice. They are often used to illustrate a point, resolve conflicts, or provide guidance. Proverbs vary from one African culture to another and are deeply ingrained in everyday conversation. Music and dance are central to African oral traditions. Songs and dances are used to celebrate, mourn, commemorate events, and convey messages. Kora, balafons, ngoni, drums, zalam, percussion instruments, and various other traditional instruments are used to create rhythms and melodies that are interwoven with the spoken word. Many African cultures have a rich tradition of oral poetry. These poems often explore themes such as love, nature, heroism, and history. Jalis, griots, and poets use the rhythms and patterns of their languages to create memorable and melodious verses. Oral traditions are closely tied to various rituals and ceremonies, such as initiation rites, weddings, and funerals. These rituals often involve storytelling, music, dance, and the recitation of historical narratives that reinforce the cultural and social fabric of the community. African oral traditions are replete with myths and legends that explain the origins of the world, natural phenomena, and the histories of particular ethnic groups. These stories often feature supernatural beings, heroes, and moral lessons. Africa is linguistically diverse, with thousands of distinct languages and dialects spoken across the continent. Each language community has its unique oral traditions, encompassing a wide range of practices and styles. Oral traditions are typically passed down from generation to generation within the family or through designated storytellers, griots, and elders. The oral transmission of knowledge and culture has played a vital role in maintaining a sense of identity and continuity in African communities. While oral traditions have deep historical roots, they are not static. They adapt to changing circumstances and continue to be relevant in contemporary African society, offering a means of cultural expression and preservation. It's important to note that oral traditions in Africa are not monolithic, but vary greatly from one region to another, reflecting the continent's diverse cultures, languages, and histories. These traditions continue to be a vibrant and dynamic aspect of African culture and identity. Oral tradition is a necessary social antecedent and cultural heritage of Africans. African oral tradition is visible primarily through proverbs, folk tales, songs, dances, customs, traditional medicines, religious practices, and ancestral utterances. Prior to the advent of colonialism, Christianity, and Islam, Africans had their own beliefs, thought patterns, practices, and worldviews. The core of African thought has long been influential in shaping the responses of individuals and communities to social issues. Whether consciously admitted or denied, the oral tradition and its multifaceted aspects remain an essential constituent of the rich African cosmology and way of life. Oral traditions can legitimately be described as the hallmark of African civilization. African historians have searched through African oral tradition for a luminary past to highlight a positive image and identity for the Black people. The creative use of African oral tradition is quite visible in the writings of the first and second generations of African writers from the 1950s to the late 1980s. Their skillful retrieval of African oral narratives and their incorporation into structure, theme, and style gave birth to the Africanization of the novel form. Africa may be described as the land of oral tradition par excellence. Its indigenous cultures, religions, history, tradition, and philosophy of life are conserved in the memory of its people. The oral tradition in diverse forms through the centuries has given to Africans their cultural identity as a people. Vital to African literature is the relationship between the oral and written word. The African oral tradition distills the essences of human experiences, shaping them into rememberable, readily retrievable images of broad applicability with an extraordinary potential for eliciting emotional responses. These are removed from their historical context so that performers may recontextualize them in artistic forms. The oral arts, containing this sensory residue of past cultural life and the wisdom so engendered, constitute a medium for organizing, examining, and interpreting an audience's experiences of the images of the present. The tradition is a venerable one. West Africa's oral histories tell us a more complete story. Oral histories are rich, complex tools of storytelling, which contain fine details of ancestry and ancestral experiences. These oral narratives are important modes of transmitting knowledge, especially as they bring alive histories that are not present in archives, books, and other forms of literary tradition. With recollections of the past often told through idioms and long, enthralling storytelling, oral histories are the vessel between the present and the past, and in many ways act as a tool of cultural preservation. Jalis of West Africa from Senegal and Mauritania across to Mali and Nigeria use oral traditions which date back over 2,000 years. They often accompany storytelling with musical instruments such as the Kora, a 21-stringed instrument, drums, balafon, or horns to tell stories. Similarly, elders from the region which is now modern-day Ghana are steeped within the oral tradition and act as conduits of knowledge by passing down proverbs, some of which are reflected in kente cloth print. It is because of these oracles, the Jalis, that history presented itself and it was transmitted to the people, in a dynamic and continuous way, enriching the culture within West Africa. The complexity of the oral tradition in Africa include lived experiences, and is recognized throughout the continent as it represents the totality of truths that abound within the region. Sana Cissokho, himself being a true Jali Griot, is a remarkable cultural ambassador. Check out this video where he explains about Jalia Sumun and the correlation it has with their important role as oral historians.
Jalia Sumun, c'est le mot mandé. Jalia Sumun, c'est la conversation des Djali. C'est un événement que les Djali organisent et où ils jouaient l'instrument en même temps en chantant et en contant les histoires des Djali ou d'autres histoires. Ça dépend du thème du morceau qu'ils vont jouer. Ça s'appelle Jalia Sumun.
Join Cissokho as he showcases history through the lens of orality, valuing the historic knowledge of this rich tradition and their elders. Subscribe to learn more and to be captivated with the beautiful sound of the Kora as the Jali continues to foster understanding and appreciation of this remarkable culture, enriching and representing the story of sub-Saharan Africa in particular. Africa is a place with so much history, culture, moral values, and tradition. Africa is the place where the world history began. Sana Cissokho's body of work emphasizes this knowledge and how African histories exist in their own right. Continue to learn the depth of African culture with Sana Cissokho, a true Jali Griot. Subscribe now to his YouTube channel to delve into the heart of our culture through captivating stories, music, and tradition. Join us in preserving and celebrating Africa's vibrant heritage.